You have almost certainly heard some version of this sentence. Renting is throwing your money away. It gets said with total confidence at family dinners, in comment sections, by people who have never actually run the numbers on their own situation. And it is, at best, an oversimplification, and at worst, flatly wrong for a large share of the people who hear it. Today, we are going to run the actual comparison, not a cultural assumption dressed up as financial advice, but the real math behind renting and buying, including the costs almost nobody puts in the spreadsheet. Renting versus buying is not a moral question, and it does not have one universally correct answer. It is a calculation with a specific set of inputs: how long you plan to stay, the price-to-rent ratio in your specific market, what your money would otherwise earn, and the real, often invisible costs of ownership. Change any one of those inputs, and the correct answer for your situation can flip entirely. I went through the research on price-to-rent ratios, the true carry-in cost of home ownership, and the opportunity cost of a down payment for this one. What I found is a small number of factors that together determine which side of this decision actually wins for a given person in a given market at a given point in their life. Let's build it. The reason this comparison gets oversimplified so often is that renting has exactly one visible monthly cost, while owning has several, many of which are irregular, delayed, or easy to forget until they show up. A fair comparison has to account for the full cost of ownership, not just the mortgage payment people mentally compare against rent, but property tax, insurance, ongoing maintenance, closing costs on the way in, and selling costs on the way out. Skip any of those, and the comparison is not actually a comparison. A widely used starting metric is the price-to-rent ratio, the purchase price of a home divided by its annual rental cost. As a rough guide, a ratio under roughly 15 tends to favor buying, and a ratio above roughly 20 tends to favor renting, with the middle zone genuinely depending on the other factors we're about to cover. This single number, specific to your actual market rather than a generic national average, is a far better starting point than any generic cultural assumption about renting being wasted money. There are 6 factors that, together, determine whether renting or buying comes out ahead for a specific person in a specific market. None of them produce a single universal answer. All of them are calculable, specific to your own numbers, and far more reliable than a generic cultural assumption.
Factor 1. Time horizon. Buying a home carries substantial upfront transaction costs, typically several % of the purchase price in closing costs alone, plus similar costs again on the way out through agent commissions when the home is eventually sold. These costs need enough time in the home to be spread out and effectively absorbed by other savings, such as avoided rent increases and any equity built. Most break-even analyses find that staying in a home for at least 4 to 5 years is usually necessary before buying reliably outperforms renting, and staying only a year or two very often loses to renting even in a rising market, purely because of these transaction costs. This is why time horizon is usually the single most important input in the entire decision, ahead of interest rates, ahead of market predictions, ahead of almost everything else. A genuinely uncertain timeline, a job that might relocate, a relationship status in flux, a city you're not sure you'll stay in, is one of the strongest signals that renting is the financially sounder choice for now, regardless of what anyone at a family dinner insists. Factor 2. The opportunity cost of the down payment. A down payment is frequently treated as if it simply converts into home equity at no additional cost. But that money had an alternative use. It could have remained invested in the market, continuing to compound. The opportunity cost of tying up a substantial sum in a down payment rather than investing it is a real and often underestimated cost of ownership, especially in years when market returns outpace home price appreciation in a given area. Any honest renting versus buying comparison has to include what a renter does with the money that would otherwise have gone toward a down payment and the additional ongoing costs of ownership, specifically investing the difference. Skipping this step, which most casual comparisons do, quietly stacks the deck in favor of buying by ignoring an entire side of the renter's financial picture. Factor 3. Maintenance and the hidden costs of ownership. A commonly cited rule of thumb is that ongoing maintenance costs roughly 1 to 2% of a home's value per year on average, though it arrives unevenly. Years of nothing, followed by a single major repair that erases several years of that average at once. This is a cost renters do not carry at all, since maintenance and major repairs are the landlord's financial responsibility. Any comparison that stops at the mortgage payment without adding a realistic maintenance estimate is comparing an incomplete cost of ownership against the renter's full and complete cost. This factor also carries a risk dimension beyond the average dollar figure. A renter's worst-case maintenance surprise is a mildly inconvenient wait for a repair. A homeowner's worst-case surprise is a 5-figure unplanned expense that has to be paid regardless of whether it was budgeted for. Factor 4. Flexibility and mobility value. Renting carries a genuine financial benefit that rarely gets counted in these comparisons. The ability to relocate quickly for a job opportunity, a relationship, or a lower cost of living without the delay and expense of selling a property first. For someone in a career stage or life stage where mobility itself carries real financial upside, a promotion tied to relocation, a lower-cost city, a growing industry elsewhere, that flexibility has a genuine, if harder to quantify, dollar value that should weigh into the decision. This factor tends to matter most for renters earlier in their careers or in less certain life circumstances, and matters less for someone who is highly confident they will stay in one place for a decade or more. It is a real cost of ownership, even though no line item on a mortgage statement will ever show it to you.
Factor 5. Local market appreciation assumptions. Home price appreciation varies enormously by specific local market, and national average figures, frequently cited in casual comparisons, can be meaningfully misleading for any individual city or neighborhood. A market with strong, sustained price growth changes the math in favor of buying by adding real equity growth on top of the other factors. A flat or declining local market removes that benefit entirely, leaving ownership to compete purely on the other factors alone. Because this factor is genuinely uncertain and highly local, the responsible approach is not to assume strong appreciation as a given, but to run the comparison under a conservative, realistic assumption for your specific area, and treat any additional appreciation as a bonus rather than a load-bearing part of the decision. Factor 6. Forced savings and equity discipline. One underappreciated advantage of a mortgage payment is that a portion of it is forced savings. The principal repayment builds equity automatically each month, without requiring any ongoing willpower. A renter only captures the equivalent financial benefit if the cost difference between renting and owning is actually consistently invested rather than simply absorbed into a larger lifestyle. For someone with a strong, automated investing habit already in place, this factor matters less. For someone without one, it can meaningfully tilt the real-world outcome in favor of ownership purely through behavior rather than through the underlying math. This is the one factor that depends less on the market and more on the person. The theoretical renting and investing the difference strategy only outperforms buying in practice if the difference is genuinely invested every single month, not spent, which is precisely the discipline a mortgage payment forces automatically and a rental savings plan does not. Underneath all 6 factors, there is a cultural belief that quietly distorts the entire decision for a lot of people.
The idea that owning a home is a marker of financial adulthood and stability, while renting is a temporary, slightly lesser holding pattern on the way to something better. This belief predates most of the actual math we just covered, and it persists regardless of whether the math, for a specific person's actual circumstances, favors renting instead. This does not mean the identity and emotional value of homeownership are illegitimate reasons to buy. Stability, the freedom to renovate, a sense of permanence are genuinely meaningful to many people, independent of the financial comparison. It means those reasons should be named honestly as identity and lifestyle preferences, rather than disguised as a financial argument that the actual numbers may not support in a given market or life stage. Let's run an actual scenario. Take a home priced at a price-to-rent ratio right in the middle of the ambiguous zone, a 10-year time horizon, and a renter who genuinely invests the monthly difference between renting and the full cost of ownership. Run this in a market with modest, realistic appreciation, and the two outcomes land close enough that the decision genuinely could go either way. Change only the time horizon to 3 years instead of 10, and renting pulls clearly ahead, purely because of the upfront transaction costs. Change only the local appreciation assumption to a stronger growth market, and buying pulls ahead instead. This is the clearest demonstration that there is no universal correct answer here. The same framework, run with different but equally realistic inputs, produces a different winner. The actual skill in this decision is not picking a side in the cultural debate. It is running your own specific numbers honestly, rather than borrowing someone else's answer from a different market, a different time horizon, or a different life stage.
Here is how to actually apply this to your own decision, rather than borrowing a generic answer from someone in a different situation entirely. Be honest about your actual time horizon, not an aspirational one. If it is under 4 to 5 years or genuinely uncertain, that alone is a strong signal toward renting, regardless of what the other factors suggest. Calculate this specifically for a home and a comparable rental in your actual market, not a national average. This single number should be your starting signal, adjusted from there by the other factors, not replaced by a rule of thumb from a different city. Answer this one honestly about your own financial discipline, not your intentions. If you already have a strong automated investing habit, the renting and investing strategy is genuinely available to you. If you do not, the forced savings built into a mortgage payment may be worth more to your actual outcome than the theoretical math suggests. Add a realistic maintenance estimate, property tax, insurance, and closing and selling costs to any ownership comparison, rather than comparing rent against the mortgage payment alone. This single correction fixes the most common error in casual renting versus buying comparisons. If the honest answer is that you want to own for reasons of stability, permanence, or personal identity, that is a legitimate reason to buy, even if the pure math favors renting. Just make sure you are naming that reason accurately, rather than dressing it up as a financial argument the numbers do not actually support. Here is the reframe I want to leave you with. Renting was never automatically throwing money away, and buying was never automatically the smarter financial move. Both are legitimate answers to a calculation with real specific inputs: how long you'll stay, your local price-to-rent ratio, what your money would otherwise earn, the full and honest cost of ownership, the value of your own flexibility, and whether you would actually invest the difference if you chose to rent. That does not mean the decision is complicated beyond use. It means it deserves the same 20 minutes of honest math you would give to any other decision this size, instead of a one-line rule repeated at a family dinner. Run your own numbers for your own market, your own timeline, and your own habits, and let that answer, not a cultural assumption, decide.